My name is Lenny Reese. It's Sunday, September 21st, 2008. We're at the Ina Levine Jewish Community Campus, and as part of Jewish in Arizona, Memories and More, a project of the Arizona Jewish Historical Society, we are talking to Irwin Sheinbein about his memories, his Phoenix life, and more. Irwin, you came here in 1959 at age 9. Tell us about those early years and what you remember.
When our family moved here, we moved to Scottsdale, and my first recollection was going to a public elementary school, because prior to moving here I went to the Hebrew Academy of Washington. I was in the 4th grade, and there were 120 children, and 3 of us were Jewish. And that was quite a eye-opening experience. The one recollection that stands out the most is having to leave class 2 days a week early in order to drive to Bethel, which was at 3rd Avenue, and McDowell to go to Hebrew school. So it was a new experience, and being that young, it certainly had an impact on me.
Did you experience any discomfort in your Jewishness in those early years?
I don't think I experienced any discomfort. I think I was too young to really know it was discomforting, other than, as I said, just being singled out and when I had to leave class early.
And as a kid, you would have been bar mitzvahed here. Tell us about that experience, and which congregation?
I was bar mitzvahed at Har Zion congregation, which actually started in my parents' home. They were part of the originators of Har Zion, and that was in 1962, and then my bar mitzvah was in 1963. Rabbi Hillel Friedman was the rabbi at the time.
And then I see that you went to ASU, and you cite Hillel as a part of your life there. Tell us your memories of that.
When we were at ASU, Hillel was not a full-time organization as it is today, and there was actually a part-time director. When there was a new group of us coming in that got active at Hillel, we took up certain causes. We were one of the, I think we were actually the first group to have a table on the mall for the United Jewish Appeal. And it created such a security havoc at the time, because there were, as there are now, many students from the Mideast, Arab countries that were there. And it got to the point where they actually had to close the mall down because we created such, I would say, arguments, but lively discussions. And as a result of it, security felt that could have gotten out of hand, and they shut down the table, but we were able to open it up the next day.
Hey, now I know that you have had some exotic and interesting travels outside of the country, and one that I think would be of particular interest to the people who are going to be watching this film was a trip to Russia. Would you tell us about that?
Absolutely. In 1977, Tina and I were approached by the Israeli consulate in California. And at the time, the Israeli government was looking for young couples who are living in the western part of the United States to go on a 10 or 14-day trip to Russia, primarily to visit Jewish refuseniks. This was the time of the movement of Jewish refuseniks in the Soviet Union. At the time, there were a number of families from Phoenix who had also been approached, not that we knew that. People like Reese and Bruce Mallon, Don and Harriet Shear, Betty and Stan Mayerson, Arnie Serbin, and Rabbi Gold, who was at Bethel at the time. So there were a number of people from Phoenix who had made the trip prior to us. Some of the experiences were incredible. I remember the first morning that we got to Leningrad, and all we had was an address. We learned the Russian alphabet so we could read the street signs, And we were also taught how to identify a black market taxi. So we hailed the taxi and we gave them the address, and at the time I remember that if anyone from Russia was hesitant about taking us, they told us that there were 3 or 4 items from the West that they treasured a lot: chewing gum, ballpoint pens, women's nylons. Those were the 3 most, and cigarettes. Those were the 3 most popular items. We get to the address. It was an apartment building, and we knock on the door, and they're massive wooden doors, and all we hear is a ferocious bark of a dog. So Tina and I look at each other. We're not sure if we should run or what we should do. All of a sudden, the door opens up, and there's this pretty good-sized gentleman, bald-headed. He opens his arms up, and he says, "Shalom," and you melt. So that was how the trip started. We spent 10 days there. We were there for Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur both. We were in Leningrad for Rosh Hashanah and in Moscow for Yom Kippur. We visited 3 other Baltic cities. One was Tallinn, one was Riga, where Tina's grandmother was from, and the 3rd city was Latvia.
Now, you also mentioned that you had traveled to Poland and Israel. Could you briefly tell us what those experiences were?
Sure. Poland was a mission that was put together by the Phoenix Jewish Federation. The Poland experience was to visit, we went to Krakow, we saw the synagogue there, met the people that were still alive who were survivors of the Holocaust. We then went to Auschwitz. It was a February trip. I remember trying to prepare for the weather. I brought every item that I would take when I go skiing, and I had it on, and we still froze. So needless to say, trying to understand what the people went through that were in the concentration camps with barely any type of clothing. Tina had been on a women's mission, I think it was 1 or 2 years prior. And she tried to prepare me for what we were going to see, because at Auschwitz, one of the rooms they have there is where they have a collection of suitcases with family names on it, shoes, boots, and then there was one particular case that had eyeglasses, and one other case that had clothing from children. Knowing that it was probably a real needle in a haystack, the tendency was to look at the suitcases because everybody's names were still saved and were still on them.
Thank you so much, Irwin, for sharing your memories with us.
My pleasure.